Michelle Lupton here to share with you another card for my Challenge Me a Christmas card series. I hope you've been following along with my series. I've done lots and lots of challenges and had lots of extra special guests along the way, which has been really great fun this year. So today, the challenge is to use Michelle Blue. Michelle Blue is not a real colour, don't look it up in Pantone. It's called Michelle Blue because I wear this colour most days at work, so my workmates call it Michelle Blue. It's basically somewhere in the region of cobalt blue, sapphire blue, electric blue, that kind of blue, royal blue, in that kind of region of blue. So you can see I've pulled out a whole lot of Zig Clean Colour Real brush markers in that sort of area of blue. My favourite Zig marker, which is closest to what I would call Michelle Blue, is actually just called Blue in the Zig markers. And I've just scribbled them onto some Canson watercolour paper that I've cut down to, 4 1/8 by 5.5. You might think that's a bit weird, but because in Australia we use A4 cardstock, and I also sometimes use cardstock from America, which a quarter of that, which is generally a standard card, is 4 1/4 by 5.5. An A4 piece of paper, when you cut it in half, is not 4.5. It's 4 1/4. It's 4 1/8. So I sort of compromise by having it at 5.5 by 4 1/8. Anyway. Today I'm using a stamp set from Stampin' Up. It doesn't actually belong to me. I borrowed it from a crafty friend of mine. She's actually, I borrowed it from Jan Goodall. Jan Goodall takes the choir that I'm in, Grace Notes. She's a conductor, but she is also a very talented card maker, and I was over to her place a couple of weeks ago and just borrowed this stamp set, so I'm lucky enough to be using it today. So it has these really cool sort of intricate snowflake images, which is what I'm going to be stamping here. So I'm going to be stamping with Versamark so that I can then white heat emboss these images, and I might be adding some more colour later on after this. So the colour that I've already laid down is just to give a bit of background, just to give a starting point. It's certainly not the end point. Okay, so I've stamped with the Versamark. I'm adding my Hero Arts white embossing powder. This is my favourite because it's a really bright white colour. And now I'm heating with my heat tool. Now you can see that I actually laid down the sentiment when I was first figuring out where the stamps were going to go, and I'm laying it down here as well, but right now I'm going to remove it because my original plan with this card was to have the sentiment in black. I actually changed my mind on that. The reason I was originally going to have it in black is because black usually gives the best contrast. So you really want your sentiments to have good contrast so that they're legible. You don't want somebody to be peering at the sentiment and not being able to read it. So contrast is good. But I thought with the extra colour that I'm adding now in particular, I thought, the sentiment in black won't stand out as much as I might have hoped. And I didn't really want to add a die cut sentiment. I wanted to just stick with this particular stamp set today. So I changed my mind and added the sentiment in white embossing, same as the snowflakes. So you might think this is a bit silly because I could have already stamped it at this stage, and yes, I could. It's just because I changed my mind. I do that a lot with card making, honestly. Now my guest today for Challenge Me a Christmas card is one of my teammates on the Blog Named Hero Facebook page. It is Matea. So I hope you go and visit my blog, because then you'll find a link to her blog and see what she's come up with the Michelle Blue theme. Some of the themes that I've been challenged to use this year have been really, really challenging. Some of them have been quite difficult. A couple in particular I had to actually Google to see if it was possible for me to do that. But some of them are not really that difficult. Honestly, this challenge I didn't find difficult at all. I mean, how difficult is it to use your favourite colour, honestly? But I was challenged to do it by one of my workmates, so hey, here I'm doing it. Now you can see I'm adding a little bit more of the blue, the Zig colour marker called blue, to the middle of the snowflakes, just to give a bit more definition and a bit more contrast, and also around the sentiment so that there was nice contrast between the white sentiment and the blue background, and yet again with the heat tool. Now what I'm doing now is taking a baby wipe and just going over some of the embossing where some of the colour actually is sitting just on top of the embossing. I didn't want to wipe really strongly over it because that would remove too much colour. I just removed it in little bits. Now I'm spraying the whole thing with some Perfect Pearls mixed with water. I know it's in the bottle that the Perfect Pearls Mists comes in, but I actually went through that bottle way too quickly, and I've just refilled it with Perfect Pearls mixed with water. And not only does it give a great shine, but you can actually see the little droplets of it on the piece. So you can have a look now, you can see that there's little droplets of shine here and there. So I love that texture that it gives to the piece. Now I'm going to add this to a white card front, but I decided I needed a little bit more detail. I also wanted to flatten out the watercolour piece because it warped a bit, and also the sentiment was ever so slightly crooked, and I just didn't like that. So to fix all three of those, I basically took this stitched rectangle die from Little Inkers and die cut a panel from my watercolour piece. So I was able to flatten out the watercolour piece in the die cutting machine and straighten up the sentiment a little bit by cutting ever so slightly crooked. And also it means that there's a nice little stitch detail around the edge, and I've got a white border. So basically killed 3 birds with 1 stone, so that was good. Now I'm adhering this panel to my card front using a tape runner, and I'm also putting a layer of fun foam in between it and the card front. Now I don't know if you've ever used fun foam. It's really difficult to get tape runner to apply to fun foam first time. So it's easier to just apply your tape runner to the cardstock that you're going to attach the fun foam to. So I attached the glue, the tape runner, to the watercolour piece and to the card front, and basically sandwiched that fun foam in between. Now, in my universe, you cannot have a snowflake card without some sequins. So these are sparkling clear sequins from Pretty Pink Posh, which I just love. They go on everything nowadays, really. And I'm not going to bore you with how long that actually took me to arrange those. Now the last thing I'm doing here is, even with cleaning off the white embossing with a baby wipe, there are little bits of colour where the embossing wasn't perfect. So I've just used my white gel pen to just fix that up so that the sentiment is nice and bright white. So there you have it. That's my card for today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you're enjoying my Challenge Me a Christmas Card series this year. Thanks for watching.